Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Mike Luciano. Mike, how you doing, buddy? Jets are 0-3, but we're approaching the end of September. Still no Jets victory. Still no Aaron Glenn victory, but possibly this week a potential opportunity to score the first W of the season in that Monday night game against the Dolphins. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about some Jets stats. The Jets made a trade yesterday. We're talking about that as well. How are you doing, my friend?
Before we get into the show, though, I do want to say, I forgot to say this in the last show, but happy wedding to Matt and Julia. This episode is officially the Matt and Julia episode.
Wow.
We got to get into some stuff. Yeah, so
you promised them you do that.
In case they're in St. Lucia, by the way, right now for their honeymoon. So in case you haven't blown through your honeymoon gift already, which let's just say we need a lot of Jet Press memberships to recoup that. Here's the forever, guys. You guys are awesome. All right, now,
Mike, you know what the capital of St. Lucia is?
How would I know that?
It's Castries.
Okay, I don't know how to react.
I don't get a chance to flex my geography knowledge right now. Okay, it's not a great flex, but
that was the truth. I could have finally said the phrase, "What do you want, a cookie?" In real life.
I know it though.
So
I'd love to go.
Let's get into a couple things the Jets have done. We'll do the pleasantries first, as always, because they got a new player, Jarvis Brownley Jr. They have a player who was supposed to be a cornerstone of their defense who's going to miss some time in one of the Williams brothers, Quincy Williams. And then we actually got a game to talk about.
It's true.
What a game it is. Prime time against the winless Miami Dolphins. So we'll get into that. As always, thank you for tuning in. Okay. My mic had a weird thing right here. So now we got technical difficulties on top of it.
Your mic had a weird thing and Mike had a weird thing. Sorry.
Oh boy. So, like the stream, that really helps. I don't know what's been going on with the tech today. Subscribe. That really helps. Help us support the show. 99-cent memberships. As Austrian Jet fan again, donating a bunch of different memberships. You rock, Austrian Jet fan. You are a god amongst men, Mr. Jets fan.
Absolutely.
First name Austrian, last name Jets fan. So thank you for that. And always Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on all those podcast platforms. So now that is out of the way, let's go and talk about the newest New York Jet, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., a cornerback. And I got excited for this trade for two reasons. Number one, they gave up nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a late round pick swap for a guy who has years of team control, is only 24 years old. And I thought put together a pretty solid rookie year for a fifth-round rookie forced into a starting role. Thought he held up his end of the bargain pretty well. So that's number one reason I'm excited. Number two, and I think this is maybe more important, Titans fans were apoplectic for losing a guy. And again, he's not some world beater in coverage, but a second-year player, even with all of his problems, for the fan base to get that upset with losing him, I think that's a very good sign about the kind of player that he is. If you have not watched a lot of Tennessee Titans or 2023 Louisville football, I do not blame you. But the rub on Jarvis Brownlee is he's going to be very aggressive to a fault sometimes. He commits a lot of penalties, 12 in 19 games, which that's untenable. You can't do that. There have been some reports, and again, this is not official. This is me playing a little bit of amateur detective. It seems like they kind of told him to tone down his style of play a little bit, and he just said no. So I don't know if that's an attitude problem or not, but he wasn't maybe on the best footing with everybody in Tennessee. As John Mundock, I made it. What's up, fellas? Let's go talk some Jarvis Brownlee.
What's up, John?
John, what is up, John? So there's that. The good thing about Jarvis Brownlee is, and we mentioned this in the last stream about how the Jets can be a little bit soft at times. In the truest sense of the word, dog spelled D-A-W-G.
Yes.
That is Jarvis Brownlee. Tremendous tackler in the open field. You don't want to acquire a corner and go, oh, he's a great run defender, but he is. And the Jets have a problem with tackling in their secondary. It's a legitimate problem. This is a fix to that legitimate problem. And he's a guy where I don't really know where he fits yet, but there I think are scenarios where he succeeds in one of two different roles, either as an outside corner, which is what he was at Louisville and with the Titans, or inside in the slot, which is what his sort of style of play and physical build would suggest he's better at. I really don't know where they're going to go play him yet, and I don't know what that means for the secondary. I don't know if this is a Brandon Stevens challenge. I don't know what this means necessarily for Azareye'h Thomas. I don't know what this means for Michael Carter. And again, Brownlee is hurt. He's got an ankle injury, so it might be a while before we actually see him on the field at this point. But for a team that is really struggling with tackling, and for a team that has seen Michael Carter regress to the point where he looks nothing like the player that we were ecstatic when they extended him, he looks nothing like that right now. Getting somebody like this, who I think his best football is still very much in front of him, and I think he might benefit from a change of scenery. I don't want to call this a home run trade because the value isn't necessarily in home run level because it is just Jarvis Brownlee after all. But I think there's a real chance this guy is an impact player in the secondary, and I think he's probably, by the end of the year, if he's healthy, might play a bigger role than even a Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, but look, the value is unbeatable to me, and it passes, like you mentioned, the smell test when it comes to, are Titans fans mad about this? Yes, they are. You should scroll through Titans social media, scroll through the post that the Titans made on Twitter about the Jarvis Brownlee trade and see what those replies are like, because Titans fans are mad. Because
the value, too, is, I think, the big problem for them, too.
It is.
They just gave him away.
This is a guy they drafted in the 5th round last year. And not only did he immediately step in as like a start, like he was starting pretty much the entire year. He entered this year as a starter. Like this is a starting corner for them who is 24 years old, who they just drafted in the 5th round a year ago, which means he still has 3 years of team control left on his contract. Very dirt cheap team control. And they gave him away for virtually nothing, for a swap of 6th and 7th round picks. Not even the Jets. It's the Ravens 6th round pick that the Jets gave up. So that's a late 6th. Nothing. But the Titans gave him away for virtually free.
They moved up, maybe 10 spots in the order?
Yeah, they gave him away for virtually nothing. And that, I don't know, can you hear that in the background? There's a very loud truck in the background.
Now we both got vehicle-related.
If the mic's not picking it up, it doesn't matter. Do you hear it?
I don't. So
okay, great. Then we'll just ignore it.
Nice flow killing thing there.
Sorry. Yeah, but the value to me is what is the most significant part of this trade, and the part that makes it as close to home run territory as you can get for a guy like Jarvis Brownlee. Like you mentioned, he's not a perfect player by any means. There's certainly flaws with him, but he is a starting caliber cornerback. He had 9 penalties last year. He's already had 3 in only 2 games that he's played this year. So, the penalties are a problem with him. And it was also, I spoke to one Titans media member. You might have also spoken to the same guy who mentioned, attitude. He had a bit of an attitude in Tennessee. But you mentioned this. You mentioned the word dog, Mike. And I'm glad you said that because I made a TikTok about this. By the way, follow Jet Press on TikTok. I made a TikTok about this yesterday, where I said, this Jets defense needs dogs, man. They need dudes. They need dudes who are going to go out there and be physical and are going to hit you. And that is what Jarvis Brownlee can do. And I know he's played a lot of outside corner in his career. He primarily was an outside corner at Louisville, and he's mostly been an outside corner in Tennessee. He played a little in the slot, but mostly on the boundary. I think his skill set projects so well to being a slot defender in the NFL. And it's because of that physicality, because of the fact that, when I was watching some of his highlights and his tape after the Jets made this trade, because like you mentioned, I'm not sitting here grinding Jarvis Brownlee film, before the Jets traded for him. So I was like, let's see what this guy's like. I watched a couple of games, and there were so many reps that I saw where he just blew up screens, where there's a little screen pass. He's able to read the quarterback's eyes, get around the block, and just blow up the ball carrier in the backfield. That is what this Jets defense desperately needs. It desperately needs somebody that can do that, because the Jets fans know this very well. The Jets have been very poor at defending screens for years now. This is not like a new problem with Aaron Glenn. This was the case as well with Robert Saleh. They're just not a very disciplined tackling team. They overrun plays, and they bounce off would-be tackles, and we saw that so much this year. I think the Jets had 17 missed tackles as a team against the Bucs. They're getting a guy in Brownlee who last year was top 10 in run defense grade amongst all cornerbacks that were qualified. This year, he's top 5. He also leads all cornerbacks in run stop rate this season. He is somebody who is going to hit you, and you're going to know when he hits you. And it is exactly what this Jets defense needs. It's interesting you bring up, who is this going to impact the most, and where does he fit into the defense? Because I don't really know right now. It's interesting because, again, he played mostly outside corner, but I think he projects best as a nickel defender. And the Jets right now have 2 cornerbacks in that room, in Michael Carter and Brandon Stevens, where I don't think it would be unjustified to cut into either of their playing time. My guess, at least what I would do, I think this should say more about Michael Carter than it does Brandon Stevens, because you have Azaria Thomas kind of waiting in the wings behind Stevens if Stevens struggles. So I'd rather just play Thomas on the outside. I think Brownlee gives you another nickel defender where, and I put this proposition out there on Twitter, and I want to see what you think about this too, because we haven't talked about this. What if the Jets just play Michael Carter a bit at safety? He did that at Duke.
It's a very small safety.
He's a very small safety, but my thinking here is I don't think he's physical enough to hold up as, right now in the slot, especially because of the injuries. Like getting him further away from the line of scrimmage, I think would be like, I'm not talking like in a box safety role. I'm talking like traditional safety, like a free safety. I could see, and I know they have Cisco kind of already playing that role. So it'd be, maybe you want to, I don't know, they'd have to switch up their personnel a little bit. Maybe with the linebacker injuries, they play more DBs, but it's
you
just something
mentioned
to consider.
Thomas. Like, who would you rather play at safety, Malachi Moore or Michael Carter?
Well, I think here's what I would think with the linebacker injuries, because now that we'll talk about this in a bit, because they don't have Quincy Williams, Marcelino McCrary-Ball's out too. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets kind of not abandon the 3 linebacker sets, but they play them a lot less, and maybe they go more 5 DBs. And you're having situations where you have 3 safeties out there, and you have Malachi Moore, you have Andre Cisco, and maybe you also still have like Michael Carter, but he's playing more of a safety role, or maybe Jarvis Brownlee's in that role. Either way, I think this trade gives them a lot of flexibility in a position group that has been really struggling this season in a way that I don't think a lot of Jets fans expected it to be.
The thing that I'm wondering, and I think this will determine what they end up doing with Brownlee when he gets healthy, is I think there was a part of either Glenn or Muji or Wilkes or somebody that wanted this year to almost be a complete redshirt for Azareye'h Thomas, where he was just completely a developmental guy that they need to work on, which I don't know if that I would go that strong. I think there was a bit of a developmental aspect to him. I think if that's the case, and I mean, Thomas got in against Tampa Bay, and I thought he looked okay in very limited action.
I agree. He was their highest graded PFF player that week. 10 snaps, but still.
But if they really don't want to throw him out there right now, I think that this Brownlee is just a Brandon Stevens challenger at this point. And look, Brandon Stevens is not getting to the end of this contract. I only signed to a 3-year deal. He is not getting to the end of this. I think that's pretty much confirmed at this point. A lot of Jets fans may want this to be the end of Brandon Stevens. They're going to move him around at some point. Even with Brownlee, Brandon Stevens will be starting in this defense. I don't know where it's going to be, but they've invested, I think, too much in him. Like, I wouldn't play him in terms of getting your best guys on the field, but they kind of have to justify the contract.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is more likely to happen, and I think that we're both of the same mindset here, is that Brownlee is, hey, Michael Carter, wake up. We got a replacement now. Yeah. I think Quintez Stiggers was never really viewed as a guy who could push him in that regard.
No.
Malachi Moore could probably play there if you need him to for a bit, but I do think they view him as a traditional safety who can move around above all else, not just a nickel corner who can do a bunch of different things. So because of that, I think this is more of a Carter replacement.
I agree.
It just sucks to see. I'm not sucks that they got Jarvis Brownlee. I think he's a pretty good player. I mean, some of those tackles, throwing guys to the ground, stuff like that. I think Aaron Glenn does see a little bit of a kindred spirit in him. Undersized corner, plays hard tackles.
Scrappy as hell.
I think that's his kind of guy. This is just profoundly sad, in my opinion, for Michael Carter, because I think we were talking about how he may have been the best nickel corner in the NFL in the 2022 and 2023 season.
Yeah.
He was up there if he was not number one. And then he gets banged up, and he just hasn't been able to get back to his old self, number one. And number two, he just looks so gun-shy. Like, he was a very good tackler with Saleh, and now you just aren't seeing it anymore.
I'm going to do something really unprecedented for a sec, Mike, because I'm going to jump around to our GGSM segment just briefly for this stat, because I think it segues well for what we're talking about. Then we can go back and talk about Quincy Williams and other stuff before we jump back in. Let's do a little quick GGSM, Gangrene Stat Machine. Michael Carter, I got a couple stats here on him. Michael Carter's 44.5 PFF coverage grade is second worst among all qualified slot cornerbacks in the NFL through 3 weeks. He's allowed 7 catches for 94 yards and 11 targets, also has a 51.6 tackle grade and a 55.0 run defense grade.
Brownlee is in the high 70s, low 80s in a lot of those areas too.
Yeah, so I think his coverage grades were still like high 50s, but his run defense grade is 70s and 80s. Like I think is the big thing that the Jets are upgrading over from Carter to Brownlee. Like, I don't.
You're not going to get a guy in the 70s PFF grade for a late round pick swap.
No, it's a miracle they got this for that. Like, it's a miracle that, like, this is still an unbelievable value. Yeah,
and he's not Champ Bailey here, but I mean that no one can argue this wasn't a good value move for Darren Muji.
No, absolutely. But it is sad for MC2, who I believe after that 2023 season, you could have argued he was the best slot corner in the league. I think when he got paid, he had just beaten out maybe Taron Johnson for the highest paid nickel corner in the NFL.
Or did Taron break his record? It was one of those two.
Taron broke his. I don't know. I think Carter might have broken the record briefly, and then Taron broke his. I don't know, but he was up there. Like he was paid handsomely for his services, and unfortunately last year he was banged up with that back injury, and then coming into this year, we're assuming that he's going to bounce back, he's going to be healthy, and it just hasn't been the case. I know he's dealing with the shoulder injury now, so who knows how much of it is health related, but it's, going on 2 years now. And I think when you look at the secondary as a whole and you question why is it struggling, I do think a lot of Jets fans, myself possibly included, were a little too optimistic about the defense going into 2025, specifically the secondary, because, obviously we know Sauce Gardner's great. Hasn't been an amazing start to the year, but I don't have concerns about Sauce Gardner. But
if you do have concerns about him, you're a fool. Quite honestly, I don't have time for.
And there are valid criticisms. Like
but people are making him the main story.
No,
you see the tweets I've seen, the videos I've seen. You know what I'm talking about.
I think there's a valid conversation to be had about Sauce, where just a quick tangent here. The Jets paid him as the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. He's making $30 million a year, whatever he's making, right? Crazy money, which great. He's awesome. He deserves that. He's first team all pro each of his first 2 years in the league. Even last year in his down year, he still led the league in the fewest catches allowed. Awesome player. But as we've seen throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, I don't think these 3 weeks have been like a banner 3 weeks from. The first week of the season, he was amazing. Second week, kind of mid. Third week, bad. Like outright, I thought he did not have a good game. He got a little unlucky with some of that stuff. And the DPI call, I think, was bullshit. But you need Sauce Gardner to be covering at an elite level if he's not doing the other stuff, which he doesn't. Which the other stuff, tackling. He's not a very good tackler, and he's never going to be. And I don't think Jets fans should expect him to be. You just want him to be at least passable there. He's not going to be a good tackler. And he also doesn't create takeaways, which, look, obviously the interceptions are not the number one job of being a cornerback. I think they get a little inflated sometimes when, talking about how good a cornerback is. But if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to be a cornerback that gets takeaways, you better be shut down. Like you have to be. And that's what Sauce Gardner's been for most of his career. He needs to be that player this year. Like they need him to be a shutdown corner if he's not getting interceptions, if he's not tackling well, which we know he's not going to do. That's my little Sauce side tangent.
Well, it's probably not ideal that you have to set up a situation where he can't allow any catches pretty much. Otherwise, this defense is in for a world of hurt. That's a tough scenario for anybody to be in.
The rest of the secondary around him is bad, and that brings me back to my larger point, which was, maybe we overrated how good this secondary could be, because right now they have really four liabilities out of the 5 starters. 4 of them are liabilities. Brandon Stevens is not good. We knew that going into the year. We see it now. He's not
good. Camp. I don't know what happened. Terrible.
Yeah. Andre Sisco is probably currently their second best defensive back in that starting lineup, which is not good, because Andre Sisco, I think you could survive with him being your worst starting defensive back, and like you could still have a pretty solid defense if he's your worst starter. If he's your second best starter, that's not good. He has his issues. Malachi Moore / Tony Adams. Obviously, I'm excited about Malachi Moore. We've not seen him be able to play at like a starting caliber level yet. That doesn't mean don't play him. Obviously, you're evaluating these guys, but he's not a good starter right now. And Michael Carter was the X factor where you were hoping that he would bounce back and be the player that he was in 2023 and 2022. And he hasn't been. If anything, he's been worse. So that's when you want to wonder why the secondary is bad. We'll just break it down position by position. They have 4 bad starters and then one who's an elite starter who's not playing an elite level right now.
Well, I think the optimistic future for Jets fans, and I think me and you kind of ascribe to this, is if Thomas hits, which I think, he looked pretty good against a pretty good wide receiver room when, again, extremely limited action, but you can only play however many snaps you're given. I thought he looked pretty good.
He had, four coverage snaps, was targeted twice, and did not allow a catch.
So there you go. Shutdown. So if he hits, and if Malachi Moore hits, which I don't know why PFF gave him a terrible grade for not allowing a catch.
There was one play late in the game, and I forget who it was to. It might have been to Ryan Miller, where Baker just missed him, and Malachi Moore completely whiffed on coverage. Like he was playing, I think he was playing a deep half safety role, either cover 2 or cover 4, and he just bit on something and was like 5 yards, 6 yards shallow of where the receiver was. Baker just airmailed it. Like that I get why they docked him big time for that.
But if he's good, because I think he'll be pretty good too, then you have a starting base defense of 5 defensive backs with Sauce on one side, Azareye'h Thomas on the other side, Jarvis Brownlee in the slot, and then Malachi Moore, and then if not Andre Sisco, then veteran du jour or 3rd round pick of 2026 comes in. And I think that if those guys are what we think they are, I think you can really work with that secondary.
You could.
I think there's a very real scenario where Brownlee is not just a depth guy, and he moves up the Jay Brownlee Jets power rankings, and he becomes
True.
legitimately a starter in the 2026 defense, which, hey, he was a starter in Tennessee, so why wouldn't he be?
He's been a starter his entire career in Tennessee, pretty much.
Which for a 5th-round pick, I don't care how bad the team is, a 5th-round pick out of the gate to start, it's pretty impressive.
Which is what makes that trade even crazier. Like you got drafted the guy in the 5th round. He overachieved and outperformed his draft status by a lot, and then you trade him away for nothing. Like after a year, that doesn't make any sense to me.
And I know he's going to make penalties, but like the Jets need a guy with this kind of mindset. There's so few guys. Quincy has that mindset, but that's only one guy. I think Michael Clemens does. He just sucks and can't.
Clemens absolutely does. He's just really bad at football.
He can't implement it. So
yes.
They need guys who can implement that philosophy. And I think Brownlee, as we've seen in Tennessee, I think he can. To give up on a guy after a year and 2 games, I mean, I'm not saying it's like Minkah Fitzpatrick with the Dolphins when they got rid of him. It's not that level, but the fact they even made him available, unless he's just the biggest a-hole in the locker room, which
you know what? If he is good. I want
in a bad way. Like if guys don't like him, that's the
not good. But I want assholes. I want assholes in this team. You remember Henry Anderson? He would take cheap shots at players. He's cheap shot at Stephen Hauschka. I remember that.
Bill Laimbeer of the NFL.
Yeah, I want guys like that. Would I like to be friends with Henry Anderson? Probably not. But I want him on my football team, especially in the trenches. You need dudes like that. Really quick with Stevens though, my concern is that like he's going to be factoring into this defensive back room, not only this year, but probably next year because they can't get off his contract. So I know Jets fans want to be like, all right, it's going to be Sauce. It's going to be AZ Thomas. It's going to be Jarvis Brownlee. Stevens is going to be in the picture some way. Like they could post June 1st him. And if they post June 1st him, they technically save $500,000 in cap space. But like,
who would perform better at safety, Brandon Stevens or Michael Carter?
Stevens is more prototypical, like safety size. Probably Stevens. And maybe that's what you do. Maybe you move Stevens to safety next year and it's Stevens and Malachi Moore, because Cisco's on a 1-year deal.
The problem with that is you're already paying, if he moves to safety, you're already paying Brandon Stevens, like, I don't want to say a high-end guy.
You're paying him a lot.
The high-end guys are like,
but
Buda Baker, Kyle Hamilton. That's like 19, 20 mil a year. Not that, but like, so 12 mil a year is basically Brandon Stevens, right?
I agree. This was the issue I raised when they signed him, when Jets fans were like, oh, they might play him at safety. And I'm like, you better not play him at safety on that contract. My counter to that now would be, if the secondary is what we're thinking it's going to be, which there's a lot of things could happen. But if say it is Sauce, AZ Thomas, Jarvis Brownlee, Malachi Moore, Brandon Stevens, well, 3 of those guys are on cheap rookie contracts. So I'm okay with paying Brandon Stevens that money to play safety if the only other guy making any kind of money in the secondary is Sauce Gardner. Obviously, he's making a lot of money, but Brownlee, Carter, and AZ Thomas are making, or not Carter, Brownlee, Moore, and AZ Thomas are making nothing. So
it's just that thing of, I mean, at 12 mil a year, Talanoa Hufanga is much better. He's getting 13.
No, again, I'm in a vacuum.
13 and a half. Josh Metellus is 12 even.
Yes, in a vacuum, it looks terrible, and the contract sucks. The signing sucked, but I think you could do it. Like, it's not like you are allocating money, or you are allocating money poorly, but I think you could still do it because you have 3 secondary starters on rookie contracts if you go that route.
So let's go and talk about a guy who is unfortunately going to miss a couple games.
Yeah.
And it's not Jarvis Brownlee.
More than a couple, probably.
Yeah, more than a couple, and that is Quincy Williams, who has been placed on IR.
Yep.
So we're going to miss him for at least 4 games. And this defense just... If there's one position I don't think they could have really afforded to lose guys to injury outside of edge rusher, I think it's linebacker, because on top of that, and this guy stinks too, but Marcelino McCrary Ball, their third-string linebacker, he's also hurt. So that now means the starting linebackers are probably going to be, for week 4 against Miami, Jamien Sherwood, who great last year. He's been terrible this year.
Yeah, the coverage has been the big issue with him, and he's also had some missed tackles. Like,
for those that don't know, Sherwood is, I believe, number 7 in the league in terms of EPA when thrown at allowed this year. He's number 7.
PFF has graded him out really well as a run defender, but like the reason, like, I think his grade is like in the 60s, so it doesn't look that bad. But the coverage stuff has been so bad that I think it trumps that, and I think he's been worse than that grade would indicate.
You'd think, too, being a converted college safety, he'd have better coverage instincts.
A lot of it's just been zone. Like that, I think it's been almost all zone where he's been getting beat, and it's just it's the instincts. I don't know. Maybe it's the new scheme where he's being asked to play.
One might ask why they paid a guy $15 million a year to be a bad scheme fit then.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
One might question that. So he'll be one of the top linebackers, followed by probably Kiko Mawagoa, who was a 5th-round pick, kind of a fringe draftable guy. I think his brother is the big prize, the offensive tackle next year. And then maybe Cam Jones or Mark Robinson, who they signed from the Patriots practice squad.
Or who knows, or Jackson Sermon or Ben Neiman or Michael Walker. Like there's a bunch of names.
Slim pickings out there.
A lot of guys.
You could make a very good case that outside of Sauce and Quinnen, who I think are going to be the best. Quinnen's been, I think, fantastic this year. I think he's been their 3rd best defensive player, Quincy Williams.
Yeah, you could argue it's a low bar, honestly, but
there's not a lot, but there's not a lot of irreplaceable players on this defense. And I don't want to call Quincy irreplaceable, but difficult to replace might be the best word. What also stinks for him is this is a contract year. They've already now paid Sherwood. I hope this doesn't mess up his money. I hope this doesn't impact, if the Jets want to bring him back, I hope this doesn't impact their decision to bring him back. This just stinks on all fronts, man. Unless Mawagoa just excels and becomes a Blake Cashman and becomes a pretty good linebacker that they found late in the 5th round. And who
like Jamie Sherwood.
Like Jamie and Sherwood, you can do that sometimes. Which I'm not super high on because those guys were always usually starring in camp. Mawagoa kind of stumbled out of the blocks a little bit, and now week 4, they're going to probably just all Mike McDaniel's doing right now is just how do we get Tyreek Hill up on 51?
Yeah,
which that's what I'm worried about. Tua or no Tua, I'm worried about that.
That's my biggest concern with Mawagoa is the coverage. Like I actually think
Sherwood can't cover either. So
right. I actually think he did a pretty good job, like as a tackler in that game, and based on what I've seen from him both in the preseason and looking at Miami, like he seems to have good form with his tackling. Like he seems to be a pretty solid run defender. So I'm not as concerned about that. I am concerned about him holding up in coverage when he's asked to cover in space. Like I think that is going to be an issue for him.
Just for 15 years ago, he'd be like a top 50 pick.
Yeah. I mean, he's a pretty big dude too. Like he can hit, but yeah, I'm concerned about the coverage in space. I actually I think the Jets linebacker room, I agree. You can't replace Quincy Williams. You can't replace that intensity that he brings out there. Like that is an irreplaceable player for his defense.
I mean, he's second on the team in sacks, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. As a blitzer too. That's another thing that I haven't really considered as much. Like they've been using him a lot as a blitzer, and Mawagoa is not going to be able to do that. Maybe Sherwood. Sherwood's athletic enough that he could probably still get into the backfield. You can use him.
Then you got Mawagoa by himself.
Right, yeah. Which is a concern. I actually think the guys that they've picked up, they've quietly added like NFL caliber names. Like Cam Jones is an NFL caliber linebacker. He has been a core special teamer for the Chiefs over the last 3 years and has done all right when given a chance to play on defense. Ben Neiman they just picked up, or Ben Neiman. Over 100 games in his NFL career, former Super Bowl champ with the Chiefs. Like
familiarity with Glenn and Muji from Detroit and Denver.
Played all 17 games in Detroit last year, was with Denver before that. He's bounced around. They have Michael Walker on the practice squad as well, who former 4th-round pick of the Falcons. He has NFL experience. So it's not like they just have random no names that they're going to be throwing out there. I mean, Mark Robinson's kind of a random no name that we'll see if he even plays. But like they have enough dudes where I'm like, okay, these are NFL caliber names. So I'm curious to see how they actually perform. Very interested to see what Mawagoa can do, because I think it's very much a house money thing where expectations are understandably extremely low for a 5th-round pick who was probably even a little overdrafted for that spot, according to a lot of analysts. So it's not like expectations are extremely high for him, but if he does anything, I think Jets fans are going to be pretty happy. They're going to latch on to him. It does really though suck because, like you mentioned, this is one of the positions they really could not afford to have major injuries. We said that going into the year, where it's like, if one of Sherwood or Quincy goes down, that linebacker depth behind them is scarily bad. And
here we go.
Unfortunately, here we are. They also lost Jermaine Johnson, which kills your defensive end depth. Hopefully, Jermaine is back by Monday. We'll know more by tomorrow when the Jets come out with their first injury report. But yeah, just a brutal break for Quincy Williams. Hopefully, he's back. I don't know when it's going to be. Hopefully, it's after those 4 weeks and he's back on the field. But any significant missed time for him is really unfortunate, given that he's in a contract year.
Now, looking at this game, too, I think I've mentioned this before, I kind of hinted at. I think this is a terrible opponent to get thrown into the water against. Now, I know that the Mike McDaniel bloom is off the rose a little bit. I think the league kind of caught up to his little tricks right here, but I think he's still good enough to milk some creativity out of this offense against this level of Jets defense. And oddly enough, his passing game coordinator, Bobby Slowick, perhaps unfairly maligned in Houston based on what we're seeing right now,
Yeah. Who's the new OC in Houston right now?
Nick Caley.
That's right. Former
You
Patriot.
remember a lot of Jets fans were pissed that they quote unquote missed out on Nick Caley because he picked the Texans over the Jets.
Yeah, former Patriots tight end coach, I believe.
Yeah, and then he's the next, Sean McVay guy in line. And what do you know? Not everybody's Sean McVay. Ask the Atlanta Falcons about Zach Robinson. So I do think this is tough just because to get as fast of a team as Miami is, forget Tyree too. There's Jalen Waddle. Malik Washington, I think, is taking a step forward. Devon Achane as a receiver.
He's great.
There's a lot of guys that I think the entire game, you've seen that meme of Kyle Shanahan with a microscope looking at a middle linebacker. That's going to be Mike McDaniel this game. And that can be mitigated if your pass rush could get to 2 before he gets the ball out, but the Jets don't have that. And that could be mitigated if you had a secondary. Even in his best days, they struggled against Miami. Like, even during the best solid days, Miami would, when they had Tua, reel off some big plays against them. So I'm a little more nervous than I thought I was, and I hope Malagoa does good. I think he's definitely an NFL player. I don't know what
it's a homecoming. It's a homecoming for him.
It is, yep. Miami guy back home. I think there's a role for him in the NFL. I just need to see if it's starting linebacker, which I don't think it is, but guess we'll find out. Cisco, really quick. Do you think if we lose Monday, the season's over? Yeah, pretty much.
Well, hey, what do you define by season over? Like not making the playoffs? Because
might be over now.
I think it's over already. Like I think any hope that the Jets had to make. I mean, okay, I don't want to say that. Like the schedule gets easier. It's feasible they could go on a run. You never know. But starting 0-3 with the talent discrepancy that this Jets team has, it would be a major upset and surprise if they made the playoffs. But yeah, if they lose to the Dolphins, I would say it's
Fields. I haven't heard anything on Fields today. Is he?
We're not gonna know until tomorrow because they don't practice today because Monday.
Oh yeah,
Monday game. So tomorrow is when we'll get the first updates on injuries with Fields, with Jermaine, with. Look, I think it's gone underrated. Kenny Nwangwu, they need him back too because they have no juice in kick returner right now. Isaiah Davis is fine. He's gonna knock on wood. He's not gonna fumble the ball, but he's clearly not got the juice that Kenny Nwangwu does.
Did you see? Because apparently Tank Bigsby was muffing a bunch of kickoffs, and the Eagles signed Xavier Gibson. People are posting the punt return. They're like, "We got a great returner." I'm like, it's that Riddler meme. Does he know?
He doesn't know. The Giants.
Why is he not on the Jets anymore?
It's weird. I didn't follow what happened with the Giants, but I know he was obviously, the Giants brought him in and he didn't play a game for them, and then they cut him. So I don't know what was going on there. Like he never
muffed the punt.
He was maybe in practice, I guess, because he was never active for a game.
I thought he caught like 600 punts in a row in practice.
Apparently so. And then the first time he gets a chance with the Jets, he fumbles in the regular season. But yeah, I'm interested to see what this defense could do against the Dolphins, and that'll actually segue very well into a position group that I think has been a major problem for this Jets defense. Because let's now return to our GGSM segment. Let's return to the gangrene stat machine and talk about the Jets defensive end room because, Mike, it is not very good. And we know this.
I would call it downright rancid, Justin.
I'd call it maybe the worst defensive end room in the game because they have Jermaine Johnson, who, we're going off PFF grades here. We'll again, I want to always make it clear that PFF grades are not gospel. Let's not take this as the only thing that matters. It's just a fun talking point for us to then
sometimes they're right.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where I would say it meets the eye test. Jermaine Johnson, 70.9 grade, which ranks 32nd. Really good. The unfortunate problem is out of 75 qualifiers, the Jets have 3, or I should say 4, if you want to include Tyler Barron, who doesn't have enough snaps to qualify, but would have 4 that rank 67th or worst out of 75 qualifiers. Yes, that includes Will McDonald, 49.6 PFF grade, ranked 67th out of 75 qualifiers. He's graded out as kind of like an average to maybe a little bit above average pass rusher and a god-awful, horrific, unplayable run defender.
Week 1, he was dominant, and then he had the special teams play. But other than that, the first 2 weeks, I haven't really seen as much as I thought I would as a pass rusher.
35.2 PFF run defense grade for Will McDonald, which is, again, the worst in the NFL. 27.3 tackle grade. He has missed more tackles than he has made, Mike. He has missed 60% of his tackle attempts, which this is a huge issue. This was a huge issue for him last year. He missed roughly 33% of his tackle attempts last year. He has missed 60. It's obviously that's 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. He's had 5 tackle attempts. He's only made 2 of them, but still horrific. And then 67.1 pass rush grade is above average. That's solid, but he better be Lawrence Taylor if he is this bad as a run defender. And then it doesn't get much better when you look at the depth behind him because Michael Clemens, everyone's favorite least favorite player on the team. 41.4 PFF grade, 72nd out of 75 qualifiers. He's bad at everything. There's no Will McDonald here where it's like, oh, at least he's okay as a pass rusher. No, Will McDonald is, or Michael Clemens is straight up terrible at everything. He has a 28 tackle grade. So actually not much better than, or actually worse. No, slightly better than Will McDonald. He has missed 40% of his tackle attempts, a 46.1 pass rush grade. He currently has 1 pressure and 2 personal fouls on the season. So he has double the personal foul penalties that he has pressures through 3 weeks. And then Braden McGregor, I don't even want to rag on him too much. I feel bad because he's clearly not an NFL caliber player, but 38.7 PFF grade, 74th out of 75 qualifiers. The only player worse is Charles Omenihu. Much like Clemens, he's just bad at everything. He has a 28.2 tackle grade, a 38.6 run defense grade, which would be, I believe, second or third worst. Or is second or third worst. And again, mind you, McDonald is the worst.
So the Jets have the 2 worst.
I believe they have the 2 worst, or 2 of the 3 worst run defending edge rushers in the league. And then the pass rush grade is not much better. He only has 2 pressures. So just a terrible excuse for a defensive end room. Michael Clemens, Braden McGregor, Tyler Barron are not NFL caliber players. They're just not. They should not be on NFL rosters. And Will McDonald is unplayable as a run defender. So yeah, the result is the Jets.
And Jermaine's hurt.
And Jermaine's hurt. So the result is the Jets having, without Jermaine Johnson, I feel extremely confident saying this is the worst defensive end room in the NFL. And I don't think it's particularly close. With Jermaine, they at least have 1 player who I think is an above average starter. McDonald, I can't even put him in that category because he's so unplayable as a run defender. I can't call him an above average starter. I think he is. Jets fans might get mad at me. He's a worse Bryce Huff. I'm sorry. That's what he is. I think he's a worse pass rusher than Bryce Huff, and he's a worse run defender. At least right now, that's what he is. And whatever, man. I am still a Bryce Huff stan. I will stand that man till I'm proven that I shouldn't. But yeah, it's terrible.
Didn't last year prove you shouldn't to a degree?
He's back now. Look, keep him with Bobby Saleh. He's playing with his hand in the dirt now, which is what he wasn't doing in Philly. And all of a sudden, look, now he looks great again. Now he's one of the most efficient pass rushers.
Didn't they try to do that in Philly a little bit with him? And then
I don't know. Fangio hated him too, so who knows?
Well, yeah, because he was getting 1 tackle every 3 games. I would hate him too.
I think it was a bad situation for him. But I've seen nothing that would say that. I've been critical of Will McDonald in the past, and I will continue to be critical of him unless he is proven that he is anything more than the worst run defender in the NFL, which he's not.
Brian Sternbeck, really quick. If they lose to the Dolphins, noise around Glenn might get louder. It might be an overreaction, but there has been at least one and done each of the last 4 years. That's ridiculous.
I think Glenn.
They're not gonna
1-16. I think Glenn could go 1-16, and they'd bring him back next year.
Absolutely.
I think the fan base would riot. Would be mad. Would be on the brink of being oh, we got to get rid of this guy. He sucks.
What did people expect?
Right. This is it's a bad team. You are right though, Brian, that if they lose to the Dolphins, the noise will get loud. And it also depends on how they lose. If they get blown out by the Dolphins on primetime TV to a division rival that has been hapless this season, the noise will be valid. That Aaron Glenn cannot let that happen. The Jets cannot unless it's a situation where the quarterback just completely, unbelievably implodes, whoever it is, right? And throws.
Well, that happened in week 2, so.
It did, but also not. Fields was horrific, but he didn't implode in the way that I'm talking about. I'm talking about throwing 4 picks. He imploded in a way it was oh, this guy's unplayable. He just can't do anything at all on offense. But I'm talking turning it over, pick sixes, kind of like what Tyrod did, but more so, even triple that. Then it's okay, well, what could Aaron Glenn have done? But the Jets, and we'll talk about this in a little bit when we talk about the game, but the Jets need to win division games, especially this year where this division is shit. This is a terrible debate. Outside of the Bills, there's no reason the Jets can't split with the Dolphins and Patriots. They are not a significantly worse team than both of those teams. They're really not. So yeah, I think the noise will get louder if they lose. I don't think there should be any conversation about, are we moving on from Aaron Glenn after 1 year? That's ridiculous. But the criticism will be valid, especially if they lose by multiple scores. That they can't let that happen. Simply put, they cannot let that happen.
I mean, I just think I get fans wanting to win and all that, but this was the coaching candidate that everybody wanted. He interviewed with every job except the Patriots, which he said no to. So, I mean, there's a lot
of people who didn't want him, and I think those are the ones that are most vocal about this.
Yeah, I get that. They're just trying to seem smarter than they are. I think
they'd already made up their minds that Aaron Glenn was going to be a bad hire, so now they're taking victory.
Robert Saleh's not emotional enough. Now Aaron Glenn's too emotional. What do you want here? It's fan fiction. And for no reason they're doing these things. There's no reason to go off on these weird tangents about Aaron Glenn, but they're doing it.
Yeah.
But getting back to the defensive end, I don't want to sound like an Aaron Glenn stan here, but like the way he's being discussed is really ridiculous.
I agree. Really quick, Brian, our resident statistician, put out the stat. There's been 20 teams that have had 1 or 0 wins in a season since the merger, not including the strike year. Of the 18 primary/interim head coaches who ran those teams, only 3 ever made the playoffs. I mean, that's not shocking. Like if you're winning one game in a season, that's not a good sign for the future of that organization. Like that means you have to go, like you have so much progress to make before you get to even being a competitive football team. I don't think the Jets are going to win one game this year.
The Jets have been competitive.
They have been competitive in 2 of the 3. Granted, against the Bucs one, they were outplayed for 3/4 of that game. But still, like they've lost to 3 playoff teams, 3 teams that are indisputably better than them, and they probably should have won one of those games. They were the better team.
Steelers, they should have won.
They were a better team against the Steelers. And you
got Xavier Gibson just fumbled.
And you got to finish. Like no moral victories. I'm with that. I agree. No moral victories.
Aaron Glenn didn't tell Xavier Gibson not to fumble. That's the problem.
You're right. They have to show signs of progress. If we're getting to week 7 and they're still winless, Mike, I will be more upset and I will be more critical of this regime. I'm not at that point yet, but I will be. Like if they get blown out by Miami, I'll be at that point. Like that'll be a point where I'm like, okay, I have major concerns about the staff. Like I will reach that point.
Brian Glick, 2025 should be measured on coaching and player development and not the win-loss record. We have 0 depth and an all-new scheme. I agree.
For sure. 100%. You want to see progress. You want to see progress, but you need wins for progress too. Like they need to win some of these games.
Like, did anyone think they'd be 2-1 right now? I feel like every single person thought they'd be 1-2 or 0-3.
Yeah. Hope not.
And they're 0-3. And they were almost 1-2.
Yeah.
Twice. So
yeah.
With this level of defensive end play.
Awful.
Which horrific. I would argue, they always said, get your quarterback and your left tackle. I'm starting to believe now that outside of quarterback, the thing you need next is a star pass rusher.
Yeah.
The Jets have an above average one, a guy who can rush the passer and do literally nothing else, and Will McDonald, and then a bunch of flotsam who shouldn't be on a roster. Like you can't win like that. Even Miami, who stinks, has Judon and Chubb and Jalen Phillips,
Chop Robinson,
like, and they stink.
Yeah.
The Jets stink too, but they stink too. Like they at least have a defensive line.
Mm.
That's the one criticism I'll levy against the Brownlee trade that I saw some guys say on Twitter, where as good as he is, I would have liked to see maybe those picks flipped for a pass rusher of Jarvis Brownlee's quality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if those guys were available or not, but that's because I've always said in defending Muji, like part of the reason this defensive end room sucks. Oh, there's no accountability. Well, the backups are worse than Michael Clemens. Like, what do you want to do?
I'll say this. Look, ready? Azeez Ojulari's getting DNPs in Philly. Get around that market.
So
rush passer.
I've always said you only have a finite number of resources to build this. Now, allocating some of them to Brand Stevens was a mistake, but there's only so many players you can bring in year 1 of a rebuild new regime kind of thing. And as a result of that, they couldn't really address the edge depth in the way a lot of people wanted them to. They could have done it in a trade, but they also said, well, we have a tackling problem in our secondary. Jarvis Brownley. Like this team has 10 problems right now.
Mm-hmm.
They chose to address one of them at least. So they still got to figure out what they got to do with that edge room. I don't know what it is, but like that's why I don't want to sound like a Glenn stan. Maybe I am a little bit, but like I think just the roster outside of a couple stars is so top heavy, and he can't really do what he wants to do. So he's got to kind of just tread water and take, like, he's 0-3, but all right, get the best defensive coaches in here. Say, take this defensive line with Braden McGregor and Michael Clemens. Make it a deadly attack where guys are swarming and there's 3-4 sacks every game. Make it happen. Well, you can't because they can't win. No matter what you do, they can't win in pass rush reps. So as a result of that, I don't want to be too hard on the guy. Like, what do you want him to do? Especially in the moment, what do you want him to do?
I think it was Connor Rogers and Joe were talking about this in the Badlands podcast, and they brought up Connor brought up a good point where this is year 1 for this new regime. They have not had an opportunity. They had one offseason to bring in their guys, and I think they're still evaluating this roster right now, and they're seeing which pieces fit into what they're looking to do with this team, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these late moves that Muji has made, which, you know, they went into camp, they realized, hey, this defensive tackle room stinks. We do not have the guys that we need to play the way we want. let's change that. Let's bring in Harrison Phillips. Let's bring in Jawan Briggs.
Both those guys have been very good.
Those guys have been very good. And I thought they got really good value there. And now through 3 weeks, they're like, okay, cornerback room kind of stinks. Let's like, this. I don't think Michael Carter is a fit for what they want to do on this defense. And I think he'll be gone at the end of the year.
The concerning thing, though, I have about that before we get into our last stat is if Wilkes keeps playing bad, if the whole thing is Michael Carter's a bad fit in this scheme, if Wilkes keeps playing bad, do you just fire Wilkes and say, let's get somebody that maybe Sherwood's a better fit in this scheme, Michael Carter's a better fit in this scheme? Because if you're going to get rid of Carter because he sucks in Steve Wilkes' scheme, but Steve Wilkes is on the hot seat anyway, then what do you do?
I think it'll be more likely that they keep him after this year. You know, Wilkes was Glenn's first like real big hire. I think the defense is going to have to be really bad and kind of untenable for them to part ways with Wilkes. But the defense continues to struggle. I think right now they're like third to worst in defensive EPA. Only one of the only teams worse is the Dolphins, which we'll talk about in a moment. But you know, if the defense is that bad, if this is the bottom 3 defense in the NFL, like they have enough talent where it shouldn't be that bad. So maybe you do approach that conversation and you get to that point. But yeah, let's jump to our last stat really quick. We talked a lot about the defense. You mentioned left tackle before that, you know, teams need a quarterback and a left tackle. Well, going into this year, I think we thought the Jets had one in Olu Fashanu. I'm not saying they don't. This isn't me trying to say that they don't. As Brian,
getting a couple comments from Brian Glick up here on the screen.
Sure.
Moves at DT look great, and then obviously year 2 with the dead cap. Year 3 is probably when they're going to turn it around. Yeah. So he's in on the slow build.
Yeah, and I get why a lot of fans don't want to be in on a slow build because we've been in on like 6 of them and they don't work, and a lot of them have just not worked. So I get it. I understand. Unfortunately, you don't want the quick fix scheme necessarily because that's how you end up with the 2015 Jets and Mike McCagnon, and we don't want to do that again. But anyway, Olu Fashanu. Fashanu allowed 6 pressures in week 3. That means his season total is up to 15 pressures through 3 weeks, according to PFF. No other Jets player on this roster has more than 6. So Fashanu has almost triple the amount of pressures as any other Jets offensive lineman. In fact, only one offensive lineman in the entire league has allowed more pressures than Fashanu. I believe it's Cornelius Lucas is the only one who has more. Who has like 19 pressures, I think, in 3 weeks.
Oh my God. For Washington, is he?
Yes. Yeah, I believe he's still with Washington. He's been there for a while. But on the plus side, Fashanu's only allowed 1 sack. So sacks aren't necessary, or the pressures aren't necessarily converting into sacks. But
with the Browns, never mind.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. They also just lost DeJuan Jones too, so that's a brutal situation in Cleveland. But yeah, so I want to talk about this because I think that the numbers here look really bad, and obviously, I'm not going to say that Olu Fashanu has played particularly well through the first 3 weeks of the season. I think the Jets need him to be better, but I think there is context behind why these numbers might look as bad as they are, and I put this out on Twitter. There's a few things here. One, the Jets have clearly game planned around helping out Armand Membu, and Membu's been awesome through 3 weeks. So maybe they change that a little bit and they say, hey, maybe we need to help out Fashanu a little bit more. But they have, you know, they've had a lot of times, you know, tight ends lining up next to Membu. They've had the running back on that side. They've really made the strong side of the O-line has been that right side to help out Membu. Whereas Fashanu has been left one-on-one a lot more often. And teams have really taken advantage of that by sending these weak side blitzes. We saw it against the Bills. We saw it against the Bucs, where teams are just sending 6 or 7 rushers. And I mean, sometimes the Jets don't even have enough blockers to combat these rushers.
A numbers game. The fact they didn't adjust is the concerning part.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, look, first year coaching staff, first year play caller in Tanner Engstrand, first year offensive line coach in Steve Hyden, who's been a tight end coach throughout his career. Like, you know, he was a tight end in the NFL as well. So, you know, there's going to be lumps. You have to take your lumps. But I think that's been part of this where, you know, the Jets are really helping out Membu a lot more than Fashanu. And they're just, you know, when you're sending 6 or 7 guys after the quarterback every time, it's going to be hard as a tackle to be able to hold up. And I don't think, like, some of these have been him just getting beat one-on-one. Like, I'm not saying he's been perfect by any means, but some of these pressures that have been credited to him are just a situation where there's too many blitzers, there's too many rushers, and there's not much he could do, and you're asking too much of him. And then the third part of it is the quarterbacks are not helping out the offensive line. And I think this is going to be something that fans really overlook in offensive line discourse this year, where people are like, oh, where's this great Jets offensive line that we expected it to be? Look how many pressures they're giving up and all this. Well,
I would argue 3 of them have been very good. One's been okay, and Fashanu's been below average.
The quarterbacks are really, really hurting this offensive line because both Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor are averaging over 3 seconds per or time to throw on average. And I believe Tyrod Taylor leads the league in average time to throw. He only
because only one guy gets open on any given play.
Well, part of it's that, but I'll push back and say there's been some times where guys have been open and the quarterbacks are not letting it rip. Specifically,
it's a combination of both, but I think that's certainly
it doesn't help. It doesn't help. So yeah, if you have a quarterback holding onto the ball forever, which that's been an issue for both Fields and Taylor throughout their career, you have a team, you're playing opposing defenses that are sending 6 or 7 guys, and you have a situation where you're being left on an island alone more often than your counterpart at right tackle. The numbers are going to look worse. I don't think Olu Fashanu has been particularly good through 3 weeks, but I don't think he's been second worst offensive tackle in pass protection in the NFL bad. I don't think it's been as bad as that would suggest. I know a lot of Jets fans will be quick. There's a lot of pro Bowers fans who are quick to take that victory lap already. They're like, oh, they should have drafted Bowers. See, this clearly Fashanu sucks. Olu's terrible. Let's relax on that. Let's not panic yet. I'm not panicking, but I did want to point that out and say,
I will say though, I don't want to panic either, but and I get that Fashanu value wise, but like if Bowers is this good, like tight end or left tackle be damned. Like that, there is.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it's the right case, but that's not. I don't think not a valid argument you can just dismiss because Bowers has been so good so quickly.
I agree, but I think it's being used more so now to be like, look, Fashanu sucks, and I'm going to say hold on that because I don't think that that's necessarily true. In 6 starts or 7 starts, whatever he had at left tackle last year, he had like a 70 PFF grade, was above average, only allowed 1 sack. Like there was plenty of promise that he showed at left tackle last year. I don't think this is a situation where, oh, he clearly just can't play football. I think there's context to this, and I think he'll be better. The Jets definitely need him to be better moving forward.
Well, as has been the case with most Jets this year, week 1, I know they attributed a lot of pressures to him, but there were multiple clips of TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, and he's stonewalling them on pass plays. Like I thought he was very good in week 1.
Yeah.
Week 2, like everybody, he was terrible. And then week 3 was a mixed bag. So that's pretty much every Jet you could look at him. And
yeah,
they have one good game, a bad game, and a mixed game. So that's what makes it tough to really evaluate. As Brian Glick also says, O-line needs time to gel and work as a collective. That is true. They thought they were going to have Elijah Vera Tucker until a week before the year. No Elijah Vera Tucker. I thought Tippmann has been very good at right guard, by the way.
I think that affects the right side more than the left side, though.
Well, yeah, but I'm just as a unit collectively.
Honestly, the biggest issue I've noticed with Fashanu, which is a very correctable one, he's just oversetting, which is a thing that a lot of young offensive linemen do. I don't know if it's because he's kind of overcompensating for, the speed rushers. You'd think he'd be better against, because that was his thing, was like, oh, he's gonna be really good against speed rushers, but can he hold up in the power rushes? But he's kind of just overcompensating, it looks like, and he's oversetting a bit.
He's holding up in the power rushes, actually, from what
he is. Yeah. But he's getting beat like inside when he oversets, and I think that's a correctable thing. I don't think that's like he's done, right? Although Roderick Jones has been doing that now for 3 years or whatever it's been. So maybe some players it is. But with Fashanu, I do think it's correctable. It wasn't like a major issue with him last year, and I don't think it's something that will derail his career. They just got to coach it out of him. He's got to coach it out of him. I
think there are 3 reasons, Justin Fried.
Yes, sir.
Why the Miami Dolphins are probably going to beat the New York Jets in week 4.
Okay. I want to say a disclaimer really quick. I'm going to pick the Jets to win this game.
This is a total coin flip. Here are my 3 big concerns that I can't get out of my mind. As terrible as the Dolphins are, as bad as the vibes, like the vibes for the Jets and the Dolphins, 0-3 record notwithstanding, totally different. Like if you go look at what non-Jets fans are saying about the Jets, almost everybody is, yeah, they suck now, but I like Aaron Glenn. He'll figure it out, which I think is kind of funny. Sometimes you get stuck in the Jets bubble. Yeah. Everybody outside's like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. They're in these games, which I think is funny. Dolphins are not like that. Dolphins are a tire fire right now. Here are the 3 things that really concern me. Number 1, we mentioned it earlier. Those skill position players with how fast they are against Kiko Mauagoa and an already beat up secondary. I'm worried about that, especially because I know that Mike McDaniel this year is not letting Tua throw the ball downfield at all. But as has been mentioned, outside of Jarvis Brownlee, Jets can't tackle in space pretty well. And now you add Tyreek and all these other guys, Devon Achane, into space. I think that's going to be a real problem for them. I think number 2, and this was just brought to my attention today, actually. What was the big problem for the Jets in week 3 offensively?
I would say the quarterback play.
Couldn't handle the blitz would be what I would say.
Sure. And the quarterback play, but yes.
Do you know who blitzes more than any team in the league this year?
Yes, the Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins.
They play a lot of cover 0.
They come at, which again, if you have the guys, can work great. I don't think they have the guys, and as we've seen this year. And then finally, number 3, which I think is going to be one of the determining factors here. Historically, Mike McDaniel has beaten a lot of the guys on the Jets defense before. with a lot of these same pieces.
The Jets
and
have
the Jets are
struggled
struggling
in
right
Miami.
now.
The Jets
and they're
have
on the
also-
road.
Yeah,
and
they've
the
struggled in
Dolphins and
that.
the Jets in situations like this historically keep snowballing when it gets worse. When did the Jets ever beat the winless team who's struggling? Even when they're good, they always end up. Remember that one year, Adam Gase? It was, I think, no, it was before Adam Gase. It was it was Gase, but not the year that he went winless.
So 2019,
when they were playing the Bengals and he skipped Thanksgiving to prepare for it, and the Bengals were winless, and that was their first win.
Yes.
So on paper, I think the Jets, just how they match up, are probably better than the Dolphins. I think if they get the running game going, that's going to be pretty good. I think this is, if there's ever going to be a week where a non-Garrett Wilson pass catcher breaks out, I think this is it. As Brian Glick says, 10 memberships.
Oh, what a guy, Brian.
What a guy. You
Thank
rock,
you so much, Brian. You're the man.
You are the man. So I think I think those are legitimate concerns. But my God, I'm going to keep, maybe I'm being a little more negative, but until the Jets show me that somebody else can get open, even if it's against Rasul Douglas and Ethan Bonner, until they show me a wide receiver 2 can get open, until they show me they know how to handle when a team's blitzing heavily, and until they show me they can tackle in space, I can't pick them to win that often, can I?
Oh, it's valid. I probably shouldn't pick them to win either. I'm just going to say that right now. I think there's a very good chance that after the game on Monday, Monday night post game show that we're doing, there's the big "you fell for it again" little sign on my head, or my
eye again award.
I fell for it again award. I bought into the Jets. I thought that they would take advantage of a struggling opponent, and they didn't do it. So it's very possible that I'm going to fall for it again. But I'm believing, Mike. I'm choosing to believe that this is a soft football team, the Dolphins. And I don't like just
the Jets are soft too, so
they are, but I think they're not as soft as the Dolphins. And I honestly don't know if there's any team in the NFL that is as soft as this Miami Dolphins team. And I think the vibes are just so unbelievably bad in Miami. And I also think that Tua Tagovailoa is playing some of the worst football that he's played in his career. I've been a Tua, not defender, but I think he's a fine player. He's having.
I actually started defending him more recently, because when he got hurt and then the offense just couldn't do anything, I'm like, okay, so there is something here.
Every backup quarterback that has tried to play in that Mike McDaniel scheme has sucked. Literally all of them. Every single.
Even Tyler Huntley's had success, and Brissett. Like, these are guys. You know?
I don't know. Did Brissett play with McDaniel? But he was bad when he was.
I think he did. Yeah, didn't he?
And then Mike White sucks.
Bridgewater. Yeah.
Bridgewater. So I think Tua deserves more respect at times than people are giving him. But this year he's been brutal, and it's the turnovers are just backbreaking.
Well, not even that. That Bills game, I'm watching the Thursday night game. That was one of the worst 2 touchdown shows I've ever seen a quarterback have. There was a point, I think in the first half, he had negative average depth of target.
Dude, the accuracy too, which has been
that's his whole thing is the timing and the accuracy.
I think he's very much in his head. I think this entire Dolphins team is going through the motions right now, and that's prime opportunity for them to get punched in the mouth. And I think, like you mentioned, if this Jets team gets the ground game going early and they come out first drive, I want if the Jets win the coin toss, I want them receiving first. I want them driving down the field, punching the Dolphins in the mouth. And I don't think Miami recovers. I legitimately don't think they do. I think this is the week that the Jets get their first turnover and or their first takeaway. Maybe again, put the fell for it award on my head again, because who's getting that takeaway? I don't know. I'll predict a Jamie and Sherwood interception. That's what I'm going to predict.
That would be much needed.
Because I think if you watched a lot of those 2 interceptions this year, it's just he doesn't see guys. He's not seeing the field well. He doesn't see a linebacker underneath. Like, some of these have been brutal.
How many plays are him and Quincy just right next to each other? I'm like, okay, so you're not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think's more likely in this game? The Jets just go Garrett again, and he has a crazy breakout game against a bad secondary where he has 12 catches or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's a Mason Taylor or an Arian Smith or Josh Reynolds or whoever. Somebody has that, okay, the Jets finally, we could see what this offense looks like when it's not just all Garrett Wilson.
I think it's Garrett. I don't think we're going to get that yet. It's possible we can get a deep shot to Arian Smith.
If they don't do it against this defense, it's like, who are you going to do it?
There is no reason that Garrett Wilson should not make mincemeat out of Ethan Bonner, out of Rasul Bonner. Ethan Bonner, who's the worst white corner in the NFL, and there's 3 of them, and he's clearly the worst.
Riley Moss and Cooper
DeJean. Yeah, unless there's another guy in a practice squad that I don't know. Those are the 3 that I know. Or Rasul Douglas or Jack Jones, who's now hurt, or Storm Duck, who's still hurt. Like, there is absolutely no reason.
Storm Duck.
Or Jason Marshall. Like, Garrett Wilson should absolutely decimate any of those corners. And I don't think there's anything that this defense could do to stop him as long as they have a quarterback that could get him the football. I am hoping that Justin Fields plays this week, because the other thing is, yes, the Jets have struggled a lot against the blitz. And I talked about this a lot on the postgame show, why I think the Jets need Justin Fields. If the Dolphins are sending 7 guys at you, 8 guys, and they're playing cover 0, and they're just hoping that blitz gets to you and the coverage holds up, if Justin Fields can escape the pocket and can sliver his way through, there will be open space. There will be so much open space in this game for Fields to run if he is playing. So I think, and Brian, I believe it was the one who mentioned this in chat earlier, he said if JJ doesn't play Monday, yikes. The Jets need Jermaine Johnson to play, and they need Justin Fields. If those guys play in this football game, I think they win this game.
What if they don't? What if it's Tyrod and Michael Clemens?
I hope they play, man. I hope they play.
Well, that's not an answer. That's not an answer.
I don't know, Mike. I want to believe that they're going to play. I want to be optimistic. We don't know. I wish this was like, again, it's the Monday game, so we're doing this before the injury reports come out tomorrow, so we don't really know any updates on them. I'm going to operate under the assumption that they are both playing. If they are not playing, I have more concerns, and I would feel much less confident predicting a Jets victory. But I just think that the Jets have the blueprint, and we said that after week 1, and I know we did. We said they have a blueprint to potentially upset the Bills.
And here we are, week 4.
The Bills are not the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a hapless team that is in just the worst spirits possible. With a
when you say that, they were hanging with the Bills right after the Jets couldn't do anything.
And guess what? That was a taxing emotional loss and another one. And if they come out and they start off slow in this game, I don't know, man. We've seen the Jets spiral a lot. I think the Dolphins could end up spiraling, especially if Tua turns the ball over. Like, they need to get takeaways. That's the key to this game. The Jets need to do 2 things. They need to run the ball and establish the ground game, which will open up and turn the passing game for Justin Fields, assuming he's playing. And 2, they need to turn the ball over. Like, they need to get takeaways on defense. They need to turn the Miami Dolphins over, because the Dolphins, like, that's been a big issue with them. They cannot hold on to the football this year, and a lot of that has been Tua. The Jets need to capitalize, whether it's a fumble, and the Jets actually fall on it for once in their fucking lives. They fall on a fumble because this team cannot do it, apparently. Or they capitalize on a ball that is thrown right to them, because Tua's probably going to have one of those in this game, where he throws a ball right to Brandon Stevens, or right to Jamie and Sherwood, or right to Sauce Gardner, and they have to make a play. They have to do it. I don't think the defense is going to hold up well against this Miami offense. I think we're probably going to see what could be a high-scoring game. The difference is going to be you have to win the turnover battle. And I think if the Jets can do that, which they haven't been able to, but if they can do that in this game, the opportunities will be there. I think they win.
Brian Glick, what if there are thunderstorms on Monday night? What do you think the impact will be? The Jets should hope for that.
Yeah.
If it's like a downpour where you can't throw stylistically,
I agree.
The Jets that would very much favor the Jets.
I agree. Although it would make tackling in open space a little harder.
It would also make throwing the ball harder.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I think that would be thunderstorms doesn't benefit anyone, because they wouldn't
play.
They would delay the game. They wouldn't play at all. But just rain.
Scream at 1:30 in the morning or whatever.
God, please, no late night primetime games getting delayed by weather. Oh my God, I'd hate that so much. Yeah, I think the rain would definitely favor them. Yeah, I think there's a clear path for the Jets to win.
We're gonna get another AJ Dewey game.
Oh God, what was that? AJ Dewey was tight end, right?
No, he was remember that was in the AFC Championship when they threw 5 picks because it was all muddy.
Oh, the Mud Bowl. The Mud Bowl.
Yeah.
Yes. 14-0, whatever. Right?
I always like Benigno talking about that, because he thinks they did it on purpose. He goes, because it never rains in Florida. They didn't put the tarp down.
Well, it's called the Sunshine State, Mike. It can't rain there.
It never rains in Florida.
Real quick, score prediction. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to say Dolphins 24, Jets 23.
Oh, brutal, dude. This fan base would be so mad.
Yeah,
what is it? Last second field goal?
I think I don't want to, honestly, maybe I just don't want to jinx it and predict the Jets win finally.
I get that.
Part of it.
We shouldn't both predict the Jets win. That'd be a bad idea.
Yeah, that'd be a bad idea. But, and I don't think necessarily it'll be, here's why I might not get too alarmed. It's because I think the reasons that the Dolphins could win this game are the problems the Jets have had the entire year and are probably not going to fix immediately.
Sure.
I think they're going to win because they won't pressure Tua, because their pass rush sucks. Well, we've known this for a while.
It does
suck, trouble tackling in open space. We've known this for a while.
The Dolphins O-line also sucks. The Dolphins offensive line is also not good.
It does, but the stoppable force versus the movable object.
I know. That's what we said last week. Michael
Clemens.
Clemens or Charlie Heck. Please pray to the football gods that Jermaine Johnson is playing.
Oh yeah, I thought the Bucs were playing Luke Haggard and Charlie Heck. They got 1 sack against Baker.
They also had like 7 holding penalties. So like,
I will say, for all the Will McDonald slight on the show, he did draw like 5 holding penalties.
Yeah, he had a couple. Quinnen drew a couple as well. Like Juwan Briggs drew one. Yeah.
I'll trivia for Brian again.
Sure.
If the Jets win, Mike McDaniel could become the 4th Dolphins head coach fired in season. In the other ones.
Well, one of them is Dan Campbell. Was one of the
Dan Campbell. Well, no, he was the interim.
That's what he said. Can you name 2 of the 3 interim head coaches?
Oh, the interims that they've had. Oh, I thought it was
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell.
I know this.
Did they fire Saban?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't know if it was that
in the year.
But there's another one that they fired in our football lifetimes, right?
It was Joe Philbin. I'm trying to remember. No, Dan Campbell took over.
Dan Campbell was for Philbin, but didn't they fire?
Then it was Gase, but Gase got the whole year.
Yeah, they didn't fire Gase midseason.
Flores didn't fire midseason.
No, Flores was after as well.
So it would be like Dave Wannstedt, Jimmy Johnson stuff.
Tony Sparano.
Tony Sparano. Oh, because Sparano got promoted to full-time head coach.
So Sparano. Oh, so was Sparano the other interim?
Yeah, it's got to be Sparano.
Hey, there you go.
Campbell.
I didn't realize that, honestly. I didn't know he was an interim.
So that's I think he was the O-line coach.
R.I.P. Tony Sparano, Jets legend.
Oh yeah, he was the with Rex, I believe, right?
Yeah, he passed away unfortunately recently.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Let's see who the third one is. I'm gonna go and
I don't know. I love these trivia.
Oh wow!
I really do appreciate these trivia questions.
I did look it up. Guess who it is? It's a familiar Jets face.
Familiar Jets face.
Actually, no. Sorry, we were wrong on Sparano. My bad.
Okay.
So it was Jim Bates, who filled in for Dave Wannstedt. We would never got.
I have no idea who that is.
Dan Campbell.
Okay. And after Dan Campbell?
Before Dan Campbell.
Before Dan Campbell. Oh goodness. Oh, a familiar Jets face. Was he a head coach for the Jets? Yeah. Okay, that's a yes then probably. What Jets head coach also was a head coach for the Dolphins?
It is Todd Bowles.
Wow, I forgot Bowles was an interim coach for them. I did know he coached in Miami.
They fired Sparano. He was the assistant head coach and defensive backs coach, and he was the interim.
I knew he was an assistant in Miami. I forgot he was an interim there. That's crazy.
Todd Bowles, yeah, he actually went 2-1 as the interim head coach of the Dolphins.
Was Sparano the coach before Philbin? Did they go Sparano to Philbin, or was there somebody in between?
That was they went Sparano to Philbin.
Okay.
And then Philbin to Gase to Flores.
Yep.
Flores to McDaniel. I believe Mike McDaniel too is. Hold on, wait. Oh yeah, if he wins, he is the 4th winningest coach in Dolphins history. Behind Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wannstedt, and then because Shula was there forever. So
yeah, wow, behind those 3, that's crazy.
Yeah, behind 2
who's currently 4th? Who's currently 4th?
Sparano.
It is Sparano. Okay, I was gonna say Sparano. Wow.
Yeah, so
that's wild, man.
Mike McDaniel as the Lions OC next year is going to be.
I was going to say McDaniel or Anthony Weaver will probably be joining that list as the new interim at some point this year.
Bowles did beat the Jets that year too, yes. So as is tradition.
Of course he did.
So the Jets are 1 for 900 in must-win games over.
Then I heard a lot of people saying that Todd Bowles, this was his first game, like Sunday was his first time he ever coached against the Jets, the head coach. Clearly that's not true.
Well, an interim, I guess.
I mean, I guess the full-time coach, but that still counts. That still counts.
Jeff Ulbrich coached CBS's production team, not me.
I will.
Just write them a strongly worded letter. Thank you guys for.
Whoa. My score prediction.
Oh, I thought you did yours.
I didn't do mine. I didn't say it.
I apologize.
I think the Jets score 30. I think they score 31.
If Fields plays.
Yeah, this is going to be contingent on Fields and Jermaine playing. I think 31-21 Jets win. Very optimistic, but I think it happens. I'm also like, maybe the Dolphins.
I just don't think this is the week the defense figures
out. Maybe the Dolphins, maybe they miss a couple of field goals. Right, they have Riley Patterson is their kicker right now, right? Because Sanders is out. Jets legend, Riley Patterson.
Yes.
I do not trust Riley Patterson. I don't think a kicker has missed a kick against the Jets this year. I think maybe that happens for the first time here. I think we break a couple things. A kicker missed a field goal.
That I just got like a vision of
Patterson making a game
of the 59-yard field goal he's gonna drill.
Oh, he doesn't even have a crazy what's his career long?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, but against the Jets he does. That's the
God, you're so right. I'm really setting it up. I don't give a shit. As Brian said, amen. Let's fucking go, Jets. Jets dub 31-41. Book it. It's happening.
But one last stat before we clock on out. Todd Bowles is 11-5 as a player, assistant coach, interim coach, and full-time coach when facing the Jets.
And he also went 11-5 in his first year with the Jets, right? Didn't he go 11-5?
10-6.
10-6, whatever. That's right. Of course.
Ken Burrell Tompkins.
That's right. That's right. They didn't make the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah, I swear that name causes me a lot of
pain, a lot of anguish.
The pain, bro.
Was it a reference? Was it a reference to something?
Benigno. All right.
Oh, okay. Oh, I understand it. Right. A couple Benigno references for the older folks.
He's WFAN. You know my thoughts on them, but he's the old guard is still there.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
So thank you guys for tuning into the Jet Press podcast. Hopefully, this is the week it turns around because streams after wins are more fun.
Absolutely. We haven't had any
except for last year when they weren't even really that fun because Aaron Rodgers took the fun out of it. But
the stream after Aaron Glenn's first win will be fun, especially if it's prime time against the Dolphins. Like that, that's gonna be very fun.
The most fun post-game stream ever was when they beat the Eagles that year when they had like 3 corners.
Oh yeah.
Tony Adams, the most fun
pick. Craig James coming through.
Tay Hayes.
Yes. That was very fun. And you got to remember, this is prime time too. So this is one of like 2 opportunities the Jets will have to stamp their place and, to shape the narrative around what Aaron Glenn's team is looking like. This is an important game, and I really hope we're talking on Monday night about a Jets victory. As Brian Glick said in chat, best lunch break ever. Glad you're able to join us on your lunch break, buddy. I got to get some lunch.
You might need to go talk to your manager. I don't know why your lunch break is at 4:15, but
also over an hour long. So
maybe keep it. So I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin T. Fried. Follow JetPress at the JetPress. Download the JetPress podcast wherever your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also become a member today. It is, I believe, around 99 cents. It is a great way to get your comments prioritized in chat. And of course, just a great way to help support the show. Thank you, Brian, for donating those memberships earlier. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time and live immediately following every single Jets game. So we'll be live Monday night. Hopefully there's no weather delay. Hopefully it's not later than expected. Thank you all for joining us on the Jet Press podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
Brian has confirmed in California that he is the boss.
He's
in California. So
hell yeah, buddy.
We salute you, boss, as we sign on off before week 4.